What's up, dudes? Max here, and welcome back to a special edition of Real Talk, specifically talking about something that's been happening with Street Fighter V. The beta, as we know, was available last week for a very limited period of time, and we have not gotten an announcement yet of when the beta is going to be back. But it is going to be back, and they are going to replace the kind of the errors that happened within the first beta with an entirely new test that will be sometime in the near future. Now, the thing that's happened as a result of the test and people getting their hands on the game and the time that I've had with the game leading up to this point is this overall thing that's kind of come up with the game about combos and how combos are working in SF5, and the ongoing thought of what execution does for fighting games and how some fighting games that have recently come out, including one called Rising Thunder, which is that new free-to-play game that's in its alpha state right now, which I'll make a video about in the near future, it takes away the executional barrier, and Street Fighter V is kind of doing this as well. Let me start and just preface what exactly is going on. In Street Fighter IV, combos were limited by frame link timing. Essentially, the way your normal moves come out and the way you're able to combo into other normal moves all depends on this thing called frame data, and all frame data is how fast things go or how slow things go or how fast or slow they recover. And within a game like Street Fighter that runs entirely on frame data, things combo in a very specific way unless they're target combos, which are more like pre-canned combos. A lot of characters in SF5 have pre-canned combos right now, if not most of them. And in Street Fighter IV, not everybody did, so you had to rely on these things called links. You'd rely on your frame data that this move comes out that fast, which could connect right after that move that recovered that slow. And you pretty much discovered this stuff based on how it's kind of worked in previous Street Fighter games and how fast you think certain things recover. For example, with Ken way back in the day, I was able to find out in Super Street Fighter IV that his standing jab, within one frame link timing, that's one frame out of 60 in every second, you were able to combo into his Super 2 or his Ultra 2. So it's kind of just like a practice thing. You just have to start throwing moves out, see what you can actually get to go into the next thing. And what's happened with Street Fighter V is that the ability for you to actually make these combos possible is a lot easier. In Street Fighter IV, things absolutely had one frame link timing, but you were able to do this thing called plinking, which was essentially a glitch that allowed the player to have multiple chances to hit their tight link in a combo, essentially making one frame links twice as easy and even other combos a lot easier to perform within the game. Some people used it, some people didn't, but it is a thing that definitely was resounding in Street Fighter IV, and you even find me pressing plinking every once in a while. And the act of plinking I could describe to you, but you're essentially better looking it up on Google, mostly because it's not going to be in Street Fighter V at all. It was technically a bug in Street Fighter IV, and you're not going to see it in SF5, but there are things that have kind of been built into the game to make that natural. You don't have to do this crazy stuff anymore in order to make Street Fighter V combos easier. They're actually naturally easy, making even a one frame link, which is 1 out of 60 frames every second, where you gotta do like crouching medium punch into a crouching medium punch from Ryu. It's now a lot easier in Street Fighter V, essentially making the way that the game actually preserves your inputs, the way it looks at whatever button you press, it's a lot more lenient. Up to 3 frames is what a lot of people are saying right now, and that's very similar to another game that you might have played and you've seen on this channel. It's called Omega Mode in Ultra Street Fighter IV. It's now even more known that Omega Mode was kind of a precursor to what some of the system mechanics were going to be in Street Fighter V. A lot of stuff that's in Omega Mode is actually making appearances in SF5, and the biggest one is how combos are handled. And if you guys want to practice your combo timing, I highly recommend going into Omega Mode in Street Fighter IV and just practicing there. So now that you know how Street Fighter V actually works with combos and how it's going to kind of utilize links and how they're a lot easier than they used to be, the overall topic and dilemma is a lot of people that are from the kind of like the back in the days of fighting games, which is the same era I was from, execution monsters, people that like things to be really hard. And a lot of these people are really upset that Street Fighter V does not have these super high execution combos. It has challenging combos and stuff that new players will definitely not be able to hit, but the hardest combos that are possible in Street Fighter V are much easier than the ones that are in Street Fighter IV, even to a high degree. So these people are really upset that they want their high execution game. But naturally and over time, as developers have continued to make fighting games over the past 25 years since Street Fighter II, they've gotten somewhat easier. Some are still very technical and very hard. Some of the most simple ones that can have the fewest buttons, like Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, are insanely complex and complicated. And some of the ones that have the most buttons are actually extremely easy to play, like Rising Thunder, that has an 8-button scheme and you don't even need to use an arcade stick. There's no motions, there's nothing like that. You just have to press one button for supers. Some people are angered by it, some people think it's great. At the same time, it's not about the execution of you doing the move, it's about when you want to use it. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't mind execution in games. I like what they kind of did with Killer Instinct, where you have these auto combo things that happen just like the previous Killer Instincts. But if you want to make it way more difficult on yourself, you can do manual combos, shorten the chance of breaking combos, and then go for things that are much more difficult and include one-frame links all over the place. They are very, very, very hard to do in KI. But at the same time, you have other games like Rising Thunder, which have done things much differently, allowing one-button inputs for everything, and Street Fighter V still does go back to joystick execution, like fireball motions, dragon punches, charging moves, everything like that. Street Fighter V absolutely has that stuff, but when it comes down to the base of the combos, those are much easier, and I think I'm personally totally fine with it. I do like execution-crazy characters. I play Evil Ryu in Ultra Street Fighter 4, and he's completely about extremely long, ridiculous, very tight link combos, and they look very awesome. The biggest thing that might come as a result of Street Fighter V having somewhat easier to do combos is that the access and the ease of usability of these combos is much higher, so you're not going to see a lot of creativity when it comes to these combos. You're going to see a lot of similar stuff, I am presuming right now, until the game does evolve and they open it up and they do balance changes and things like that. I would not be surprised right now that some combos in Street Fighter V are pretty difficult to do, but you give it like a week or so and they'll become very easy. I do like the idea of fighting games not having to require insane execution, especially for one thing that is very important, and it's that fighting games are not determined by their arcade versions anymore. Street Fighter V isn't even getting an arcade version of that game, and this game is pretty much dependent on its core tournament play, which is offline, and for the most part, it's online play. That seems to be the biggest focus of the developers right now, that SF5 is able to perform well in an online environment where those crazy tight link combos aren't going to be way more difficult. They open it up a little bit where you can actually land these combos much more successfully online, and considering that not many people have tournament scenes or the ability to play local with players that are equal to their skill level, which is what you usually look for in a fighting game, that's nothing but a good thing in my opinion, and is the appropriate direction that fighting games kind of need to go. I love fighting games, I love the old stuff, I like how crazy high execution games like Capcom vs. SNK 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, all these old games actually are, but at the same time, it's intimidating. It's intimidating when you go back and play this stuff and you're like, damn, this was really difficult, and you feel like you have to essentially grind for 3 hours to land one of your really cool A-groove combos that you might have forgotten or didn't know how to do in CVS2. There is a huge executional barrier when it comes to classic fighting games, and it's one of the things that developers of modern fighting games are trying to tackle, and considering Street Fighter is a game that is based on a huge fan base of people that are very used to how Street Fighter plays, Street Fighter V is going to be a little bit different, and I'm happy about that because I prefer people to not be intimidated when they jump into fighting games. They're already scary enough as it is. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to be back for the next few days and making videos once again. That Ebola virus definitely got me after Evo, and it snuck up on me once again, but back to making videos, back to daily stuff, and it'll be on the channel, and I appreciate you guys sticking around and subscribing. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. My name is Maximilian, and I'll see you next time.